Yeah, so Biff came in with the idea of talking about his favourite scene from each episode of Death Battle, but because most of these episodes will be ones where he and I are based on the same opinion, I'm turning it on its head and I'm talking about my least favourite scenes from each episode of Death Battle. Only rule is I'm not allowed to choose the death for any of these, what a shame. Also, obviously we're only talking about the animation, otherwise every episode from Mario vs. Sonic 2018 onward would most likely be one of the shit cutaway gags. Let's go, this is not going to convince anyone that I actually like this fucking show, god damn it. Samus sneaks up on Boba and drops a bomb even though they say Boba has a 360 radar, and Boba just stands completely reactionless in the middle of it, even as it explodes. This episode surprisingly doesn't have any really bad shots, but Sung sucks Akuma's soul for maybe a little too long, and then politely waits for Akuma to charge his punch before running directly into a raw super. Fucking moron. Wonder Woman throws a yellow line out of her elbow and flips left and right while a straight line freely swings around of its own accord. Fucking stunning. This stupid fucking face, which then turns out to a swap sides next shot. This episode has so few shots in total that by default it's every frame with Pedo Bear in it. The fact that I have to watch this on Rooster Teeth's barely functioning shithole of a website due to the episode being fucking blocked in my country, but aside from that, Mikey's death, which I'm not allowed to use. So aside from that, everything leading up to Mikey's death, which is about 10 seconds of him being on the back foot and failing to do anything. Fuck, this episode is just all white noise. I guess this weird looking part is this beatdown on Leo? Well, I don't care. Yoshi, famous coward as he is, shits himself in fear at Riptor showing up. Clearly scarier than a mountain-sized turtle. Tao Kaka goes ham on Felicia's face to do a resounding nothing whatsoever, and then whatever this is. Not particularly chuffed about Kratos only using God of War 3 weapons, but that's an issue with the fight overall. I guess individually, Kratos lighting his bonfire and then not shooting the flaming arrow and giving Spawn time to glow his hand, and this shit. Bomb-Man throws a bomb down a hole and conveniently blows up a very small section of ground in which he, for reasons only known to God Almighty and Bomb-Man himself, buried all of his power-ups about 30 feet into the dirt, just on the off chance he'd pick a fight with a mole someday. Not content with just having all the effects of the Chaos Blast vanish between frames in a comedic pop when Shadow leaves super, they make the Chaos Blast look as if it might have actually gone off with a sudden charging shifting to a red expanding effect very close to resembling an explosion or a blast of chaos. That apparently was just the Chaos Blast super politely giving Vegeta a preview of what would happen if it actually went off. The montage is fine, but it happens way too soon into the fight and kills the pacing a bit. Really feels like a middle of the battle sort of thing instead of something that happens like 30 seconds in, though I do like the final bit. The entire thing. Luke throws his entire fucking hand along with his lightsaber at Harry, who responds by using the killing curse extremely out of characterly, but luckily for Luke, his other hand is producing a glowing cum bubble aura, which forces Harry's magical attacks to will themselves out of existence, because apparently Death Battle didn't realize the 2 to minus requires the attacks to actually touch your hand. This tree looks like a tiny penis stuffed between 2 sagging balls, and I'm willing to bet that was an intentional part of why it was chosen for this scene. Luckily, it then vanishes immediately after, as all genital resembling trees are known to do. Rambo Dash making stupid faces at Starscream is equal parts obnoxious as it is just another middle finger to one of my favourite characters Death Battle I've ever gotten to use. Doomguy fires the BFG, which very clearly hits Master Chief, who somehow for some reason has put up a bubble shield after already being hit by it, then threw a plasma grenade through the bubble shield somehow? That's not how that works. Or what, did he take the BFG shot, then throw the grenade, and then put up the shield as like the lamest alpha move in the world? I don't care if this is too close to death to count, fuck off. Eggman makes a big deal of his A-fleet, only for his own robot to just jump into the air and vore it in seconds after it shows up, all while hitting them with pin particles, so each ship has shrunk down about half its size. I'm gonna cheat and say the worst part of this fight is Zelda sprites, fucking hell. Raiden jumps into the background and then spends the next 5 Mortal Kombat tournaments just flying around waiting for Thor to do something. Link throws his boomerang for no reason, which allows Cloud to wail on him, all while Link politely puts his sword and shield back onto his back as to not get in the way because Link is considerate like that and knows he can just take a pounding from the planet-busting Sephiroth tier Cloud Strife. Look, the death is great, but the worst part of this extremely good animation is just that this giant web materialized out of the ether because Spider-Man has willed it to be so. The start of the fight involves a completely motionless Pikachu getting wailed on by Blanka without reacting, which definitely isn't supposed to look as silly as it does. If it counts, I don't really like the abridged skit, but if it doesn't count, then this shot of Superman's weird fisheye lens face staring into my fucking soul. He-Man sits down on Lion-O so hard to cause him to instantly become all bloody and beaten, but if that sounds too close to the death for you, then Lion-O shooting He-Man away and then instantly being confused as to where he is. Bison goes to his epic super form and then immediately Shao Kahn bodies him, steps on his knee and hits him with an anvil on a stick. This episode is nothing but W's. Literally the worst part of the fight is Strider takes a little bit too long for my liking to charge his attack and Ryu's bomb arrow. Ivy pulls her sword, which is clearly not attached to Orchid at all, and asks her if that hurts, as if Orchid is supposed to be hurt by some blades being in a general vicinity. And she is. You know, Bucky does indeed have a problem with toes, but he would not at all just randomly show up to this group of not entirely toes just to murder one of their mates, then fuck off. Unless Bucky is some kind of frog Nazi, which is ironic given his opponents are literally frog Nazis. Right after Robocop tells Terminator he fired 9 shots even though he fired 10, Robocop pulls out his ordnance from the wrong leg and blows Terminator up, and even then Robocop finds his jetpack randomly and conveniently in a place it wasn't before. Crazy. The hell's this scene? Tails picks up Luigi and flies in the air, okay. Luigi uses his Vanish Flower? Why? The assumption would be that it makes him intangible so Tails would let go of him, or he would just phase through Tails' hand, but that's not what happened. Tails clearly remains holding him. Tails does seem however confused for some reason, even though Luigi is still clearly being held by him. Now if Luigi did go intangible and fell to the ground, then I'd get the confusion. But he doesn't, because Luigi pulls out this massive fuck-off hammer which is not invisible for some reason, and Tails also doesn't notice until a good second after it's pulled out and begins swinging. What the fuck is this scene? This episode doesn't have any particularly bad shots, so the worst is how Charizard gets choked with both hands to stop his flamethrower, but then when Blastoise lets go of his neck, for some reason he doesn't try doing it again. This episode is so perfect, please don't hurt me, Saidu, but also the worst scene is Hector swinging across these lights looks fucking stupid. Really good, just not as good as the other parts. I get the reference with this shot, but Godzilla fires atomic breath, the slowest descent is not conveyed very well and does not look at all like that's what's happening. Famously stupid superhero Captain America blindly throws his one single weapon into a dense fog when he has no line of sight, with his only visual indicator of direction being Batarang trajectory when Batman most likely has moved on from the point of origin of. Then Cap does this face. The entire first scene with Zex spits on the face of his character, does not portray him well, plays him as a joke, and insults everything about him by making his personality a brooding guy who is horny for some reason. Whoops. Ryu gets this great moment to prep his raging demon and Scorpion dodges, but following that he does this limp dick fatality attempt where Ryu jumps 3 feet to the left and dodges a minuscule fire breath, then Scorpion just decides to politely stop firing so he can put his mask back on and continue fighting Ryu with his fists. The sniper scene just is not audio balanced right. The sniper shots are too loud and it hurts my ears whenever I forget about the scene and don't turn the volume down for it. Did Kirby just shit himself because Boo could shoot a beam and turn a rock into candy? As if that is something that would scare Kirby and not at all excite Kirby to gain. Ragnar's up close scene here looks unrelentingly stupid. Blah, 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 blah. What is this weird metal line Toph just pulled out and wrapped around herself? Why is she grey when she rises out of the sand? How does she survive the sand burial? Why is the sand burial have black bits of the sky showing up? Who fucking knows? Because this black metal thing she has in Legend of Korra apparently was just conveniently never brought up in the episode and comes the fuck out of nowhere. This is a tough one. Do I go with Samus having a bomb go off near her legs that destroys everything about his suit except for the boots that were closest to the explosion? Or the fact that she kicked the lightsaber with her foot? Chuck's line here is just weirdly audio balanced and just sounds strange. That's not Inferno. That's Cinder. Lex Luthor has picked up ventriloquism because his mouth does not move as he says, "How about that?" This 5-second long shot of just Beast moving towards the ground as Goliath approaches. This is not how people type. He did not eject the USB before pulling it out for safety, and after tuning the computer you can see here it's completely undamaged. Fucking horrible episode! What the fuck is this stupid fucking force pulse Darth Vader does? You can't even see Doom get hit by it. What the fuck is his headbutt too? The ending after the death. The end. I know Knuckles is literally too stupid to live, but he doesn't even peel the banana. What the fuck? Actually, that's probably intentional. But also, how the hell did Donkey Kong randomly teleport all the way over here in a bush? He can't teleport. Wolverine gets asked if he's a cyborg, and instead of saying something in character like, "No," or "Not as much as you think," he instead explains explicitly what's going on and why Raiden can't go through him. Wolverine is famously considerate like that. Yes, Hercule. You, standing there surrounded by your capsules that have yet to be opened, clearly are holding the last capsule left. Indeed. Yang's semblance activating is literally a transitionless swap between a model with regular hair and a model with brighter yellow hair with no effect whatsoever while her hair is completely stiff and motionless. Simply stunning. Mega Man has just run out of ammo for his metal blade, the weapon most famously known for having an unreasonably large magazine of ammunition. Of all the weapons he had to choose, this one? In a relatively quiet, hushed tone, Green Arrow speaks, and famously hearing-impaired Hawkeye hears them from across the fucking street on another building. Either Agumon's weird-looking getting up animation here, or Red's randomly appearing black bar eye guard. You can't really tell, but Trish and Jean are supposed to be fighting on the same falling platform as Dante and Bayonetta. You can't tell because they're not there! For a fight with zero pacing, it's amazing how they can still somehow break the pacing by having Bowser throw a hammer at a chandelier and making an elf fall to the floor before making a JoJo's reference. Intentional or not, the Dark Jack fight where there's absolutely no sound at all feels unfinished and terrible. Quicksilver lies about his stats, Flash tells him to prove them, and instead of dropping a detailed essay on scaling and cosmology, Quicksilver throws 2 attacks out that Flash matches before suddenly Flash decides that has made this ridiculous. Okay, the police car phases into grass. You know you got a good episode when they straight up forget to add in an entire chunk of the fucking background. Church somehow is surprised by the meta not being stopped by a few bullet wounds to the body, as if he's not, you know, the meta. Right after we get this kinda cool shot of a close-up Cammy with some nice lighting, we get this horrible spinning time Sonya flight, and then Cammy being annoyed that her knife damaged the drone she threw at. What? And then an awful close-up Sonya bit looks out of place, and also they use Cammy's portrait twice in succession. Why? That is not how Bonk works. I have not played TF2, and even I know this. You fucked up. Ken and Terry clash projectiles, and then there's this unnecessarily long shot of just nothing as Terry's attack shows up a few seconds late. Why? Amy spins for 14 years to throw a tornado, which slowly pull arcade machines towards her. A sight so shocking it's given Ramona a flashback to some Pearl Harbor incident in her past, so haunting that she doesn't notice one of the arcades about to thwack her on the back of the head before Amy very slowly jumps up at the arcade machines, which based on the difference of size between now and before proves that this tornado also doubles as a TARDIS of some kind. Then she also hits Ramona and we don't see Ramona hit the floor.
Hulk hates spiky beard. Hulk also hates good line delivery. Not how Hulk say it.
This would be some of the most accurate hand-drawn animation in series history if it wasn't ripped directly from the anime. Instead of Pinkie Pie and Deadpool doing some fun stuff with Amy vs Ramona, they just have Pinkie Pie complain about an arcade. Why? Then it just ends with Deadpool and Pinkie Pie becoming friends, and what the fuck was that? The entire first half of this fight is literally unfinished with not fully rendered models, most notably with Nathan's face and the Holy Grail. But special mention goes to this scene, which, even if fully rendered, includes Lara just allowing Nathan to very slowly pull out his gun, then asking Nathan if he knows what he's done, despite her gun being the one to shoot the Grail down. We don't need text telling us what these guns are, we fucking know best in the analysis, and anybody who didn't watch that who doesn't know is honestly the problem, in that case not the episode itself. Not like we need to know which is which either when Scrooge fires them at the same time. The random fucking cut between when Venom gets hit with the missile, the Bane looming over him, which really shows how this battle is a cut up piece of fucking dog trash insult animation. Hey Biff.
Yeah, Nam?
Wouldn't it be funny if we had a 5-second long shot of Bane standing there holding a rocket launcher?
Fuck it, why not?
These ugly pilot models don't appear much, but this appearance is accompanied by Matt Pat's first of cringe delivery. What the fuck is this? Oh my god, there's another one. Okay, but do you own an air fryer? Fucking all of Sub-Zero's lines are candid for this as none of them fit, but I'm tempted to also just include this bit of Sub-Zero's hand being melted, then in the next scene of after this shit-ass fake-out, showing the wrong hand being missing with this super dorky-looking animation. 18 throws a destructive disc at a rock in a convenient way that misses Captain Marvel entirely, who also has weird stray pixels near her legs. It's sad that with all these horrible 3D shots of Zero, there's not even one of those that takes a spot, but rather this scene with some of the worst sound design in the series history. But it also starts with one of those 3D shots, so Lucario fires a big fuck of force sphere and Renamon politely runs directly into his trajectory. How sweet. The clipping on Balrog's stupid blue hoodie is most evident when he throws it off. This little combo at the start from Shredder kinda lessens the impact of the only one attack needs to be landed for either tone that the rest of the episode tries to go for. The entire bit of them throwing hands looks like ass. Everything in this tornado is literally unfinished renders, and that bothers me. The entire bit here where Ichigo tries to fight an army of clone Naruto is so unclear and confusing, I don't know what's happening. Look, I know some people probably love this shot, but the 3D building looks so out of place, and never beyond Kicks 2099 closer to it, everything just looks so wrong and bad. This is the only time during Vergil's fight with Sephiroth's illusions that his sword passes through the fake Masamune. It's not a fault of this shot, but it's really weird that this is the only time it happens. Especially when before this happens, Vergil clashes with it just fine, so it's not like it's because Vergil turns on some property of Yamato after this. Does Black Panther throwing this rhino count as the worst scene because it unintentionally made me laugh due to the slow walk, tiny rhino, and janky yonk into the air? Or does it count as the best scene because it made me feel any emotion at all? This scene fucking hurts my eyes, I hate it. How do you make a stand clash with the Hokuto Yakuretsu Ken lame? By having a fully clothed Kenshiro do it at the start of the fight, so there's no tension as to who will win this because it doesn't matter. And it's surely one of the most climactic moments of the battle, but it feels like a shoehorned in afterthought that to add insult to injury ends in one of the worst hand-ons I've ever seen in the episode of the series. The way a whole 3 seconds pass between Crash clapping Sparks and Spyro reacting to it is fucking hilarious. It feels like an abridged series gag where a character has an absurdly long reaction time. All this build up just for Zoro to fire a slightly bigger fireball that slowly hits the one that bit reflected back and does nothing. There's stuff to complain about with Frank vs Leon, but this bit where they fight zombies is not one of them. Everything leading up to that, however, is a painfully slow sequence of arcade machines, multiple shots of zombies, and then the zombies breaking the fence and surrounding Frank, then Leon shooting, then Frank getting out his hammer. It's just so long, it takes forever. This whole segment is just Turtles reference, they're underwater, or they're in Asgard now, they're in Star Wars now, whatever this is, now they're on the back of some random ass dragon or some random ass world or some random ass time. Let's not actually use any of these set pieces, and you know what, how about instead of using any magic, they just throw hands like basic ass brawlers and only use magic to teleport to the next area we're gonna waste. Jin going whatever it's called, is really well done, but it comes a bit too early. It would have been cool if between Ryu activating his V skills and triggers and Ryu using his Shinsho and his Shinku Hadoken, if Jin actually got a moment to counter using as one of his iconic 10-hit combos. Jack doesn't have a headband here, but then he has it here, and then we get Mood Whiplash with the Samurai Jack ending card. That's all there is to complain about. What the fuck is with Lucy's giraffe neck, honestly? I really don't like the performances of Optimus Prime. It just sounds like a generic deep voice instead of Optimus Prime, most notably because they were definitely going for that Peter Cullen sound, and it just comes off as sounding like, oh, I'm just a deep guy. But the worst these delivers to me is where he taunts Gundam. Like, first off, the line delivery sucks, and the fact that Optimus is holding onto the raw, coursing energon of the axe and not any sort of hammer doesn't help. But also, this line is so fucking arrogant. When I think of Generation 1 Optimus Prime, I rarely think of arrogant little shit he taunts people like he's Vegeta. This is something Vegeta would say.
Pathetic earthling! I have battled countless gods! You think you can beat me?
Or even Rodimus, maybe. There's a fine line between being a hero and a memory. There's also a fine line between being Geon Optimus Prime and being movie Optimus Prime. Also, he's talking over Wings of Iron. Don't do that. Daredevil lightly tapping the ground while Nightwing dodges is fucking hilarious. I love it. This entire fight is basically just one really well animated dorkly skit, but this bit where Mario starts clowning on Sonic is the most dorkly of them all. Ultron's little cheery arm lift here is strangely jovial and feels almost out of character for him. But then Comic Ultron's a little crazy, so this is probably fine. It's hard to find anything terribly bad with this episode, but the whole way they were saying swaps between hands is just a really annoying thing. Maybe the evil containment wave doesn't make much sense working on Gamma Bunta, but it's a fun usage of one of Roche's techniques that gets a little utility. And Jiraiya's summoning jutsu, which also, would have taken too much focus away from Jiraiya if this didn't happen. This is either a really small planet, or Darkseid grew really big between shots, or Thanos shrunk the planet for some reason, but then we also go from the planet spinning really fast with these anime speed lines, and Darkseid nowhere in sight, to this completely flat shot with zero energy where the planet is barely spinning, and now it doesn't feel like it's moving with any velocity, and why is the planet so small? Not content with just having Namor screaming Imperious Rex in the middle of the fight when he explicitly says it's meant to be shouted before a fight, they also make sure that the scream is not nearly as badass as it should have been. Volnarch teleporting between these cuts is really not great. It's nothing major, but it has confused people watching it as they had to keep track of 5 separate characters who do look similar enough to reasonably confuse and teleporting between shots is not something you want. Is that a grappling hook using melee combat, or a Cthulhu turd materializing itself into existence for a few seconds before returning to the ether from which mortal eyes were never meant to observe? I like the little power interaction that comes afterwards, but Shazam's Shazam Shao leaves a lot to be desired. Warrior's arms don't turn red when the rest of him does. What a cringe-ass episode.
Done, huh? Thanks for the tip.
Weiss's little dancey poo here just looks really slow and unnatural because of how it's animated. I don't like it. It should be way faster. This silly little run. Aang's line after killing Ed is technically not the death, and it is a terrible line because you could have easily made this death come off as an accident, but instead decided Mum to make one of the most pacifistic characters in the show's entire history and intentionally murder someone, even though the entire storyline with this final season is about trying to find a way to deal with the Fire Lord without killing him. Anyone who says the characterization doesn't matter in Death Battle can shut the fuck up, because I wanted to see Aang in this fight, not his functions. This fist fight is slow, boring, and doesn't really make the characters come off as powerful as the rest of the episode does. Fun fact, it takes more effort to hold one's hands closed in a tight grip than it does to not do that, meaning Tommy put in extra effort to make sure he could not let go of that spear the entire time Kiryu is charging up the Absolute Zero cannon like an absolute lemon. Hey, we have this amazing looking hand-drawn Susanoo, Sasuke's big trump card and his third most iconic ability. Let's have it get immediately fucking bodied. What the hell is this? That's not what you're supposed to look like when you get punched. What, did Ganondorf just pit Dracula so hard he froze in space and time? Tatsumaki at the end has a tiny potato head that is completely disproportionate to her body. Fortnite and Bella Delphine Gamer Girl bathwater references the platonic concept of pain funneled into a lower spatial dimension and then blended together with the idea of agony, the metaphor of heartbreak, and every death-related allegory ever conceived. How the hell is All Might catching wind? Have you ever caught wind in your hands? Okay, smartass, have you ever caught wind that fucking explodes on contact in your hands? Static's little nod here looks a bit stiffer than the rest and lingers a bit too long. It breaks the pace just a little. It's hard to choose between the slow-ass leg raise to a 2 microsecond hand-drawn catch and slow as fuck hair whip back and forth linked to a weird janky throw, and the "such a pretty bird" line, because all of Sindel's line reads are bad. Here we see a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle in its natural habitat, having walked out of a pizza place after buying a single individual slice of pizza without any disguise in the open. Oh, but Nemesis, the turtles often go around in the open. Yeah, not out of disguise, that only happened in the Turtles Forever movie, which bastardized the 1987 Turtles. Also, is that a thing in the US? Buying a single fucking slice of pizza? Why would you ever do that? Oh no, animating an actual fight takes time and effort. Let's just repeat these 4 frames without any effects, camera movements, or embellishments to mask what we're doing. Oh no, she's thrown a single attack that I blocked without getting injured. She's too much. I have to commit suicide now. Any of Z's lines also count for this, by the way, because they're all delivered with the cadence and inflection of an angry, petulant teen background extra in the second volume of Ruby, instead of a confident and prideful military general. The dab. This T-Rex must have been drawn by one of the animator's 4-year-old children. That's the only explanation. The way Kakashi says, "I guess I have the high ground," pisses me off so much, holy shit. Did they just not give NIL any direction for this line? You've butchered the inflection of the funny prequel line, and I can't even blame you, because it's a directorial issue. Literally everything in the museum, but if I had to choose a single shot, it'd be Danny's completely motionless and frozen still body being picked up and thrown. Something about She-Ra breaking Wonder Woman's bracelets is completely immersion shattering, and I dislike how Wonder Woman has such a delayed reaction to it. It's meant to activate her super form immediately, isn't it? This feels like she activated on will. How about, instead of banter, the first time our characters with a ton of personality encounter each other, we just have Galaxia drop a complete non-sequitur that has no relation to anything that has happened or been said since. Oh, what the fuck has happened to you, Toto? Jesus! I like how NAL is trying to do a deeper voice because they acknowledge in the comics that Ultrasonic has a deeper voice to regular Sonic, but it almost sounds like a parody voice that I would do for a video. The line is cringy as hell because the concept of Sonic admitting someone else is faster than him doesn't sit right, and the delivery, even if it was intentional meant to be silly, just sounds really stupid. Man, I'm gonna ruffle some feathers, but I do not like the crowbar scene. I like the concept and I like the idea, but having seen what PTSD sufferers look like when they have an episode, it's a lot more tranquil from the outside, and they sort of freeze up, and it's uncomfortable to watch, and you just feel awful because you can't do anything to help. What they certainly do not look like is a fucking Doug Walker skit where the actor swings his body around as if he was in a cartoon. This is genuinely hilarious overacting that breaks my immersion and ruins my ability to take this seriously. If there are instances of PTSD that cause this kind of reaction, then I apologize. I have never once in my life encountered PTSD episodes that are anything like this, where the sufferer swings their whole body around. I've never seen it online, I've never encountered it in person. If this was done more accurately, maybe more chillingly, I probably would have had Red Hood start to freeze up, stumble back, shaking almost in place, offering no resistance to Bucky's attack, only snapping out at the end out of necessity and desperation, which leads to this clumsy attack that gets tripped up with ease. These wings look fucking awful. You've got MVC style Venom sprites paired with these crappy wings from an unrelated source. As a whole, this entire style of this fight is painfully slow, like watching a stalactite grow at half speed on YouTube. But as an individual scene, Saber with blocking the fire dragon just looks awful, it has no impact. Why the hell is there a shot reaffirming that Lopez is still alive? We don't need a reminder of how not all the Reds died. Oh, also Griff's scream of no is one of the worst line deliveries in the entire franchise. But even then, so's Griff's Don't Leave Me Out Here. Also Griff knocking over Lopez is honestly basically all of Griff's scenes. It's amazing to me how an episode's so bad that literally every single shot of the animation either has a lot of jank, breaks the 180 rule, or has no purpose to the fight's aggression, managed to have a shot that stands out as bad. See, Gwen is supposed to have been stabbed in the palm of the hand by this Batarang, but, no. That isn't even close to being right, and when she pulls it out, the wound's on her wrist. So let's take Rock Lee, a character who is not only well known for being extremely kind and respectful, but also iconically believes that it is literally impossible to dislike food, and his favourite food according to data books is medium spicy curry, and we'll have him rudely and abrasively complain about Sanji's curry being too mild. Bitch, your favourite food is medium spicy curry, which is basically curries made for pussies who can't handle real spice. Spoken like a true Asian, I know. But man... I was gonna have Broly's "I'll kill you" line because Broly talking at all in this state is completely incongruent with his portrayal in the film, and also Broly never once expressed a desire to kill in that movie, making this out of character. I mean, if Broly doesn't scream "I'll kill you" to the guys who seemingly caused the death of his father, who will he scream it to? The guy who stopped him from playing with some deer? But the actual worst bit is this completely impactless PS2 era looking Broly ripping off Hulk's head. Then there's the green door, which looks really dumb, and also the effect is cut off in the corners, and then Hulk's punching Broly, which has no impact at all, and the animation looks rushed and sped up. Well, why do you have no impact? Hot diggity dog, this looks dumb. Okay, now I have no love for the no shit super scene. I've explained before, it's blatantly out of character to have Ryuga go at Senketsu like that. It's just wrong. It's no. This whole episode is nothing but a cavalcade of boring mediocrity, and while I'd love to use one of the moments where they stop to explain shit to you as if you're a fucking infant with no idea what the fuck is going on despite being blatantly obvious, at least it's in character for these two to not shut up and let the fight have some fucking pace. So instead, the actual worst bit is the fact that I can't get past Doom being so shocked and surprised at Lex's suit coming back, even though that already happened, and he's fought Iron Man a ton of times in the past, and all this does is lead to Lex's far clunky attempts at Beerus's "I'm the Impossible" line. This rock throw looks kinda shit. My arm's been cut off, a horde of giants is coming at me, and my aura is depleted, so if I swing the wrong direction and hit a wall, I'll break my neck, and also I've just killed an innocent woman who was just a bit abrasive about wanting me to leave this place, and now I can see these giants, so I know for a fact she was justified in her actions. God, I'm so fucking happy about this. Incoming! Man, at least the ears line is funny. Instead of a cool first-person shot of Poe rapid kicking, we get this side view that comes off as really weird because Poe's massive frame is suspended in midair. This fist fight's a bit shit, isn't it? Link shoots an ancient arrow and the result is a big textureless blue circle dot PNG that punches Cloud in the face apparently. Batman decides that the best way to stop Tony from shutting down the watchtower is to hit him with it, or with a lovely frame counter. One of 3 in this episode. But the biggest of the lot and technically spanning 3 shots. I've heard some excuses for this, like, oh, it was a be careful what you wish for, that's why you hit Tony with it, but that's really stupid and out of character for Batman. Or, oh, the watchtower was hacked so it was compromised, but like Cyborg exists, he can unhack it, problem solved. If Batman was worried about information being leaked, he would have set it to self-destruct instead, because this has a high chance of killing people when the massive chunks of watchtower crash onto the earth. This is a dumb scene, you can never convince me otherwise. The 2 standout scenes I would have chosen managed to get saved. Goku Black conveniently missing all these key blasts on a motionless earbud is saved by the line earbud drops being funny, and Black changing into completely different sprites is saved by the delivery of the Kamehameha being one of the best in the show, and the cinematography of the zoom out. So instead, it's this fucking hand drop bit where earbud looks like he's running really slowly and then a barely animated Goku Black pops out behind him. Imagine having all that build up in this elbow drop for an explosion this fucking small. You can see Wisdom Boomstick right there for reference, man. Death Battle color match this scene to the rest of the fight challenge. This Shoryuken is embarrassing. A completely unanimated Oni spins clockwise while tweening in the air, as an unanimated Shao Kahn swings backwards and an unanimated splatter of blood flies through the air like it's a single solid entity and not a liquid. Korra makes its ice blade with its colors so bright it loses all detail and looks like a single solid block, and then Storm drops lightning on it that only affects the top half of her body for some reason. Hado 99 apparently just obliterated the frame rate, meaning that Jump Force has a better looking Hado 99 somehow, and that's sad. Saitama grunting with pain when getting tapped by a pre-spinach Popeye is one of the most jarring things in this series. Guy literally is unflinching when he gets smacked around by the top tiers of his verse, who can more or less survive his casual blows, but this guy who gets splattered with a single punch later, man, just made him go, Boy, that sure was a video. Anyway, go watch bits. Have fun!